Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the World of Ability podcast, which is a part of the World of Ability podcast network that was started in July 2020. This show is the anchor show of that network and was officially launched July 26, 2020, which was the 30th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act. And today we have three great guests. I am Emily, one of the co-hosts here, along with Sue Ruskoff and Kurt Ruskoff. So, Sue, do you have anything you would like to say to introduce, or do we get right to the guests?
We're just glad everybody is here. We are fully loaded here with some awesome folks to bring in and get to chat with today. So actually, Emily, I want to throw it back to you to say which person would you like to bring in first? Because we've got a great, a great group here.
I think. Hold on one second. I am getting
I might be
phone
frozen
call
here.
Hold on. Kurt, can you take over for a second? I'm getting a phone call from Barbara.
Actually,
please, or somebody.
We're all good. You take your call, and I am going to go ahead and bring in the one person that I actually have not met yet. So I am excited to find out a little bit more of who Fred is. So Fred, welcome to the show, and I am excited to hear more from you on who you are and what you all do. Because, like I said, I've had a chance to meet our other folks here, and you are a new friend for me. So come on in and if you give us an introduction, please.
Okay, so first I got a question.
Sure.
Said I could wear a hat because I'm well known on podcasts that I co-hosted in past to always have a hat on because, well, you don't need to see how little hair I have or how gray it is. But my question is which hat do you prefer? This hat or this hat?
And of course, as you're saying this, my system is freezing up on me here. I can't see, but it's frozen.
Well, Fred, to answer that, I would prefer the second half because it adds a little character to you.
Ooh.
Yeah, we want Fred the Viking.
Okay. I want to be respectful of everyone. So Sue, your call. I can be Viking Fred or plain green hat Fred. Like I said, I'm happy to be Viking Fred. But masks are optional, I'm assuming.
Fred, I have to say, I'm going to chime in here. I find that very distracting. I'm not sure whether to stare at one of the three horns, the fuzz that comes out of the horns, or the gold buttons on the front of the hat. So I'm very confused.
Okay, we can go back to the other hat.
Sue, what do you think?
I don't like to confuse other guests. I do that too much anyways, when I'm a co-host. So,
To be totally fair, on my end, I missed the entire thing because my whole system has been fighting with me. So you're back to the original hat. I missed the whole thing. Oh my. Okay, you know what? To play with that, I gotta have some fun too. Hold on. Kindred spirits here.
Excellent. So I had to get my hat after my adult daughter, gave me
You never know what you're going to get on this show, peeps. I'm sorry. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, you're one up on me. I don't have that. That's fun. I feel like I'm going to be in glitter for the rest of the day now.
I never expected that as an intro, did you?
I love it. So Fred, tell us more.
So, I'm a marketing person, technology person by trade. Wes Vine, we help people with websites, marketing. I produce a live stream podcast. 5 years ago, a client of mine, I had dinner with him, and 2 weeks after his wife died, and I went through PTSD flashbacks of my own wife's death in 2003, and I decided I had to try to help him, and I went back to him to ask him if he wanted to do a podcast, which turned into the Pillars of Franchising podcast, which has been running live on Thursdays ever since for 5 years now. So I help people get a podcast, and sometimes I do foolish things out of a sense of doing something good that cost me lots amount of work over a long period of time. We also help franchisees or people who want to become franchises with a mentoring program that's no cost to people who want to buy franchises. The mentoring program, you still got to buy the franchise, things like that.
Yeah.
So does that tell you enough? And is it disjointed enough to make you go,
A long time no see, Fred.
Now you know I am. Yeah, come on. So now I'll shut up.
We're so glad you're here. And actually, we do have another longtime friend of the show joining us as well, and I want to bring her in right away because I think I was catching that Marianne may be on a limited time here with us during the show. So if you guys don't mind, I'm actually going to bring Marianne in right away so she has a chance to.
Hello, hi, did I lose sound?
No, we can hear you, Marianne.
Oh, okay, great. Hola, I'm Marianne Ambrose. I go by Marianne of YPP. I'm an Applebean developer of the Acts of Kindness series, featuring 200 folk Manus puppets. My books are written for animation movies and with soundtrack by Lucy Lynch and The Perfect Wave. So I happen to be in Mexico and had the opportunity to do some sailing, and the captain's coming to pick me up so we can go get some provisions. And I'm in San Carlos, Mexico, and I am working on the 3rd book called Cool Acts of Kindness, featuring another, I would say, about 50 more puppets. Oh my gosh, they're adding up. And soundtrack by Lucy Lynch in The Perfect Wave. So I'm creatively writing, working with my Fiverr team in Pakistan. So working a little bit remotely here and just kind of relaxing. The weather was 80 last week, so everyone was gung-ho. And then guess what? We kind of got some seasonal allergies happening, and so now we got rain. So we have a cold front now. So anyway, we're going to go pack to get provisions and pretty early because Easter next month is what I'm learning down here in Mexico is they shut down everything for like a week. The businesses, everything. So they actually celebrated on a Wednesday, the 9th. And so we're going to go out and do some shopping to make sure we have enough provisions before Easter when everybody comes down here. I guess they're expecting 100,000 people down here, but we'll see what happens. And through the week where businesses are closed, and then it's the after fact of how to get some of those provisions. So that's what we're kind of doing right now, getting prepared for that. And again, creatively working on the books. We sent a press release kit to all classroom teachers in the United States of America. They can get copies of the books from donorschoose.org. And we're currently updating the websiting and changing it over to a new website post called Postinger, partnering with Trevor Gibbs, the web detective, American Disabilities Act website evaluator, who's also going to be going on vacation and on a cruise. So we're just working on our projects here, making the shift happen. to share the good news with everybody. So thank you again for hosting us here on the Disabilities Channel. Back to you. Aloha, adios, amigas.
Awesome. Thanks so much for hopping in here. We're always so glad to hear from you, Marianne. Good luck with everything. I hope you can take care of all your needs easily enough there. And we're always glad to hear more about what is happening in your world, because there's a lot of exciting things coming down the pipe and with all you've done already. So I'm actually going to pass this over to our other lovely Hawaiian connection here today to introduce herself. Keala, can you come on in and let everybody know who you are and what you do?
Thank you for that, Sue. Born and raised here in the islands does have its benefits, whether it is just walking out, enjoying the sunlight. Well, in my case, we're enjoying the cold, cool breeze on the Big Island. Mauna Loa has snow, and it has its mixtures of snow, lava, beach, and sand. And the past 2 days we had sun, so experienced pretty much all the weathers in 1 week. We don't have, fortunate enough, we don't have what the states will call spring and fall. Our winters are usually between the temperatures of 70 and 60, but on the Big Island, it has dropped below 60. So that's a little cold for us. And then, of course, we have summer. So I don't know what the other seasons look like, by the way.
And I'm chuckling as I was seeing snowflakes floating by in the window here not too long ago.
We're supposed to be gearing up for spring and summer, but it looks like we're still having our comforters out and enjoying the weather. And thank you for allowing me to share my beautiful place where I live. I am a licensed life insurance out there to educate our community about life insurance, about planning for the future, about planning for the inevitable. That is me in a nutshell. I didn't come from this background of life insurance. I came from the background of teaching in the education system. And I had that great desire to see these children go from not being able to do this. A year later, they're grown. They overcame so many obstacles, and I realized that I needed to do more. I realized I needed to reach more people. And the only way I can do that is through my platform of life insurance, educating our community one step at a time to make sure that we're not just targeting the foundation of our children's education, but now we're targeting the foundation of our family's financial future and legacies. Because most times, a lot of the families here in Hawaii live paycheck to paycheck. It's so expensive. It doesn't have to be expensive. We have all these natural resources, but when we pull together as a community, we're able to plan for the longevity. Sometimes having a short sight, it kind of hinders the longevity part. But that is me in a nutshell. So sorry, kind of detoured a little off road, and
I love it. I would love a little feel of Hawaii with me today, because I'm sitting here actually like, where's my sweatshirt? It's kind of chilly in here. And, outside, seriously, I'm looking at snow on the ground. So someday we'll have to bring you out here where you can actually experience a little winter, like Wisconsin style winter.
Well, then Sue, you and I could go, and Kurt can go visit Keala over there, maybe.
I would love to host people. So right now here in Hawaii, it's here on the Big Island, it's 71 degrees. And it's a little comfortable, but I can see the rain coming in from the ocean side. And it's kind of like experiencing the weather all in one day, rain, sun, wind, but thankfully, and I don't know, well, maybe I don't know if it's thankfully, but I've never experienced snow. I've never went up to our mountain to go experience snow. I was born and raised here in the island, so snow is not part of our vocabulary unless you live on the Big Island and you see it from a distance. Our snow caps is usually a third of the mountain. The past 2 weeks, I want to say it was almost half the mountain. So we were dropping into temperatures into like the high 50s, which is too cold.
So I just learned something. I never knew that there was snow in Hawaii at all. There's some on the mountains there. I never knew that. So I learned something new today. Thank you.
There, you learn something new every day.
My pleasure.
Well, and I want to go ahead and bring Diane into the conversation here as well. So I just want to have everybody get a chance to find out all about Diane. So if you would do us the pleasure of introducing yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do.
Thank you, Sue. I love Kauai. That's my favorite island is Kauai. I am in Washington State. Luckily, our snow, but it's still very cold outside, Sue. You notice I'm wearing 2 layers today. You know, it's still chilly. So, Diane Rosso with ASEA Global, ASEA from the sea. Just so pleased and proud to be able to help people walk away from pharmaceutical drugs underneath a doctor's orders. I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be, but I do know that we live and die at the cellular level. And our Western medicine has treated symptoms, not causes. And when you treat the symptom, which is at the cellular level, you have renewed hope. You can regain your health and vitality back, and you can move forward regardless of the age, regardless of what you've been through, regardless of how many things you've tried that haven't worked. ASEA repairs and replaces cells that are sick. Have sick cells, you have a sick body. So I would love to help you in any way that I can. I also was trained to be a business high school teacher. So I didn't really ever have my own classroom, but I have been teaching in every community that I ever worked in. I always ended up being the educator. So near and dear to my heart too, Keala. And let me help you understand that we are built on the foundation of cells, God-given at birth. The body wants to heal itself. We just give the body more of what it needs to be successful. Diane Rosso with ASEA Global. Thank you, Sue.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm catching this teaching connection between what everybody offers and brings to the table here. So that makes me wonder, Fred, what kind of background do you have? Is there by chance any of that in your repertoire as well?
Teach. No, that means I need to have credibility in what I'm teaching. My thing is more about getting. So if I'm going to affect change for my grandkids, which I can show you my grandkids if you want, but if I'm going to affect change for my grandkids, then it's not about what I think, it's about what I see and what I hear, and helping get others' voices out so that I leave them a better world. Because otherwise, then I'm an old Warren Zevon fan, and there was a song called Lawyers, Guns, and Money. And if we can't make it a better way, then we're going to either lawyers or guns, and I'm not sure which one's worse.
I hear you. Making the world a better place, I think, is a definite theme among everybody here. And it's just a matter of where your angle is and where you're coming in with that. Because I know what's with World of Ability and all of the ability related things that we've done over time, I love to see where all of our friends come into play here and where those connecting points are. And actually, speaking of connecting points, is it actually through HMP that everybody has come together here? Is that where you guys all met? Because I know, is that so? Fred, you're part of HMP as well.
So I'm on the Central Coast of California, and I've always been, ever since I moved out here, I've always been really virtual networking, because I went from the Chicagoland area, which is people meet all the time, to an area that has lots of wonderful beaches, but only about 250,000 over the whole county. And so for years, ever since I got out here, I've been virtual networking. And during the pandemic, HNB popped up, and I wouldn't say I'm a member, but I hit meetings every so often. Is the long answer to that question.
That's perfect. Because actually so for anyone who's not familiar with HNP, Happy Neighborhood Project, so I'm going to pass it over to Emily. You want to explain a little bit about what HNP is and maybe mention about some of the fun stuff that happened yesterday.
Okay, so HNP is short for the Happy Neighborhood Project, which was started, I believe, in 2009, several years ago, by Edwin Edelberry, who is out in California. And it is a sort of byproduct of the I Am Happy project that he also started. And it's all about spreading happiness around the world. And there are different business business networking events around the world. I think we're at about 50 or so right now. But at our peak, we're at like 70 something. And so during the meeting, there are 2 breakout sessions to help with getting referrals. There is also a co-op that was started in July of 2021, and we are at 3,700 members right now for the co-op. And it is a very fun group. We had one of our 2 biggest events yesterday, called the International Day of Happiness, which was celebrating the official day is on Monday, March 20th, but we celebrated yesterday with lots of speakers and entertainment and so on. But Kurt, do you want to say any more about it? Bring you in here in a minute.
Sure, I can speak to all this. So yeah, we're very excited about all the great work being done, spreading happiness around the world as we bring to all of you the happiest place in the world for business people. And so we even have our own zip code, a zip code that spans the globe, HAPPY. And so in the growth of the Happy Co-op and the Happy Neighborhood Project, we are looking to triple our community. So we are masters of invitation, and we are inviting you to join us. Go to happyneighborhoodproject.com, and we already are looking forward to the Global Happiness Summit, which is due to be in October. We have 2 events in the year that are our big worldwide invitational events. So the Global Happiness Summit is the event that gave rise to Edwin working with the United Nations to designate the International Day of Happiness. March 20th, which this year on the 2023 calendar is Monday. So spread around the world like, hey, you learned something with the World of Ability. Monday, March 20th, 2023 is the International Day of Happiness. So it's all about staying happy. And what a better thing than in the work we do, we remind each other to be happy what we do. And Sue, you built your business on that, didn't you? Even before you knew about the Happy Neighborhood Project. Sue says, do what makes you happy.
That's been my tagline for a long time. So it all fits together. I love it. So I wanted to actually just open up the floor here to everybody. I know with the introductions, I'm not sure if anyone of you know each other before today. So I just wanted to see if anyone had any questions for each other. So I'm going to put that out there. Keala, did you have anything that you wanted to ask anybody or share with anyone?
I just wanted to add to what Kurt and Emily said about Happy Neighborhood Project. As a co-host for Hawaii, you meet so many people that you don't even have to travel. So I know people out in California, out in Pennsylvania, and it is the most wonderful thing to do and meet people. So if you're looking to meet people and to grow together as a business community, Happy Neighborhood Project has over 220 co-hosts, and we're just expanding because there's more groups coming out, and it's just it's one of those you have to be there kind of thing, because I can't give you all my excitement right now, right? So you have to experience it yourself, and you have to just jump in and expect the unexpected, basically. Expect to build all these friendships over Zoom, and it's funny because I met we're hearing some co-hosts where they're finally meeting people out in public, if you will, and they're finally putting that face to that little square on Zoom. So maybe you can meet someone out in your community who's a co-host, who's a part of Happy Neighborhood Project. Who knows, right?
It is interesting, isn't it? We get to know so many people in this box on my screen. And to finally get to meet some of those folks in person, it's a lot of fun because, we're all different heights and you don't get that in here. And just all those little nuances that you don't even think about necessarily. So it is pretty fun. Diane, I'll pass it over to you. Did you have anything, questions that popped up in your mind or anything you want to share?
I've been with the Happy Neighborhood Project for a fairly short time, maybe 5-6 months at the most. And one of the most captivating things happened just this week, which is you go to these meetings and you commit to them, you go regularly because that's what we should do. And you meet these people, and some days you sit back and go, but I'm not advancing my business, and should I be spending my time doing something else? And I got to tell you, all of a sudden, then you meet someone that just opens up a door that you didn't know existed. Like my budding relationship with Emily and Kurt, just trying to figure out everything they got going and trying to keep up with them has been, not for the faint of heart. And I'm just so blessed to have met them both during Happy Neighborhood Project. And recently I met a gentleman by the name of Maury who has some fascinating brain wave, I call them paddles, because they sound like a paddle going into the water. Just opens up a world, because I sit on a committee for healing centers that are being designed nationwide. So things like that. When you meet somebody and they're not the one that is going to purchase your product, it may not be about that at all. It may be just about the door that's being opened, that you haven't even thought about that as your new frontier. That's certainly been my experience.
Awesome. And Fred, your turn's coming. I'm going to pass it over to you. What thoughts do you have here? I know you say you've come and gone a bit from doing the network. Well, you've done a fair amount, I guess, of networking on the screen here like this. So throw it into your lap.
Actually, I wanted to reference something that Emily said at the beginning about the 30-year anniversary of the ADA Act. Mm-hmm. Did I get that right? Mm-hmm. And it actually kind of, I remember back then, wow, I'm old, was the first thing that hit me. And then the second thing hit me is that over the last several years, we've seen how the ADA Act has come into the digital world, especially with websites, and having to or being able to design ADA compliant websites for clients. And that's actually it's a phenomenal selling point as a marketing agency of being able to do that. But it just struck me how long that's been coming. And 32 years ago, like, we didn't even have websites. And so I was back to the old again. So thanks, Emily. You made me feel old.
I'm sorry, Fred.
It's okay.
They say age is just the number. It's the spirit and the spunk that you have to keep going. So if that
Right.
spirit, that spunk is feeling old, then hey, I guess the number can match. But keep in mind, age is just the number.
They lie. It's more than a number, but we won't get into it. What I'll tell you, what keeps you young at heart is knowing, I'll go back to it, that you got grandkids, that you gotta ignore that number and go out and do something that benefits them.
Aren't we glad we have Diane to teach us the health benefits of things to stay young?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Love it. I wanted to just bounce back here with that comment about ADA. That I'm kind of curious with what you guys all do. What experience do you guys have with that? Is that I often talk about that on our radio show as well. That part of what I like to do on the radio show is when we're highlighting things that are disability related kind of topics, just things that maybe have popped out to you over time, or that you wished you had noticed sooner, or things that I have a friend that's a wheelchair user. He's a power wheelchair user, and he has opened my eyes in so many ways to so many different concepts along the way. Even things like some of the older restaurants around here don't have ramps to get in, so there's times where we're like, hey, let's go out to eat somewhere, and we have to call ahead and find out, hey, can he even get in? Like physically, is he able to get in the building? And that's the kind of thing where I'm like, oh my God, I've never crosses your mind until it has to, right? Or shoveling a sidewalk in the wintertime, or those types of things. I'm kind of curious. We're kind of spread out all over the place here. Has there been anything that's come up with what you've done either professionally or personally that type of thing has been like, oh my gosh, I never thought of that before, and I wish other people would see what I'm seeing at this moment? Keala, I see you kind of nodding your head, but I'm going to pass it over to you first.
So I'm fortunate enough to see the health side of things. If people are healthy, they get an easier approval rate from our carriers. One of our agents, she's also a advocate for autism. And what we're finding is it's really hard for anyone on the spectrum to get approved. But not only that, to me, they're not being treated as such. And I say this with passion for those who are on the spectrum, whether it is high functioning or whether it's, keeping their distance, or, that end of the spectrum. In a matter of moments, you see them as people. You don't really get to know them because you need to kind of like approach them a different way. But it doesn't exclude the fact that they're living. They are healthy to their standards. What is standardized across the nation, if you will, is not their standards. And I feel that those who are on the spectrum has their own standards and should be approved. So we have our agent actually working with our carriers to get that approved, because they too need life insurance. They too need some kind of foundation that will help them. And you know what? Some that are on the spectrum also have family themselves. So who's to say that mom, brother, sister, dad is going to pay for that bill full price when you can pay for that bill half off or at a discount? They should be, for me, my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, they should be offered that ability to get approved, regardless if they're on the spectrum, regardless if they have whatever that hinders them in life. If it's not life threatening, if it's if it's just an additional, then why not, right? So that's kind of interesting on my take on the life insurance side, that there, as time progressed, there are advocates that are stepping up to widen the field. So personally, coming from a history of 7 feet ancestries, and we too weren't on the standard grading for insurance. So ability or labeling and limiting is on all ranges. Yeah. So that's my input about, and that like again, it's just my opinion about what these the ones on the spectrum face.
Oh, awesome. Fred, I'm gonna bounce it over to you. Any thoughts you want to add?
So on a professional level, as I said before, um, it was insightful going through what needed to be changed to make a website accessible. What made crack me up about one of the things was I had already been doing this to improve SEO optimization of websites, but yet the alt image tag on an image is something that most readers will pick up. So it needs to be something that's expressive about the image to add value to those who can't really see it. I found it humorous that it was good for that, but it was good for SEO. On a personal level, I can tell you after the heart attack, I wasn't nearly as mobile. And so I understood it then. And when I had COVID at the beginning of this year, I spent about 3 weeks where I was about 85% deaf. And when you got to have the TV on so loud when you're that deaf that you can hear it, you annoy the living daylights out of your family members. So I started to understand the how to get around that, as well as the some of them lack of optimal utility of some of the stuff.
And it is one of those things, until you experience it yourself, you don't have that same appreciation for what kind of impact does this have, not just on me, but on those around me, and how that adjusts in some way will make an adjustment all the way around. And that's one of those things that I know I've heard the phrase often of being the masters of ability. That's a phrase Kurt uses a lot. Those that have some type of a disability really do become the masters of ability, because I'll throw in there, as Denise Farkas always says, living creatively and figuring out a way to make things work for you personally or for the person you're with, or what needs to be done. You know, there's not, what the heck is normal anyway? It's just an average. It doesn't mean anything other than it's an average of across the board here, what experiences people have. So to be able to really kind of go with the flow and figure out what works today for each person really does make a difference. Diane, what kind of thoughts do you have here?
Well, it really prompted me that, when I think I'm being very mindful of the people around me, to be courteous, to be, thoughtful, to be, open doors, to do things like that. I'm sitting in a meeting, and it was an in-person networking meeting. I was so excited that we started doing that here locally. And I heard a gentleman tell his story about the profound work he's doing by starting a rugby league, and the people that he pulled in from the community to donate and buy goalposts and help with the fields and where the field is. And it was blah, 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 blah. On and on he went. And I asked him how he got the number of kids, because it's like 150 of them in the first year, all different levels, and he's got these coaches, and we're in a university town, so he pulls in the, the college students to help coach, etc. And when he's doing such amazing work, but he was being mindful of the kids he was thinking about and left out all the alternative high school kids. And when I said I spent 2 years at the alternative high school, I wonder if you presented this to them, because they have different kinds of abilities. Very few of them are using an apparatus to actually get around, but they have PTSD or traumas or, things that keeps them from interacting with what they consider to be the privileged population, the rest of the high school. So there's no way they're going to turn out for football. If that was the next Drew, what's his name from New England? Drew. Anyway, if it was the next Drew, they wouldn't do it because of the stigma that goes with the mainstream population. So he looked at me, and I've done this myself. I'm not picking on this guy, but he looked at me and he was like, I can't believe I did that. I said, well, you still have time. Just if you need a name, but those kids would flock to something that is not associated with the high school bulldog population, right? So it was another reminder to myself to quit thinking like myself. Sometimes we have to break out of our own boxes every day, and we don't even realize we do that unless we think about what we're thinking about.
Exactly.
I think there's a book called that. Think about what you're thinking about.
I love it. Yeah, because that really is it. Because we know what we're used to every day, and you can't be faulted for this. This has been my experience so far. My experience has been different than yours, which is different from Kurt's, which is different. We've all had different things. We don't know what the path has been like for the person sitting next to us or in the Zoom box next to us, or we don't know. But hopefully we can all figure out a way to make those connections and open the eyes of a friend or colleague or whoever that, maybe they didn't think of that. I mean, the story that comes to my mind too is with a lot of these adaptive events that we've done, we do a lot with adaptive water skiing. And one thing that I've been guilty of over the years, going way back, you see somebody in a manual wheelchair, what do you want to do? You want to be helpful, right? You want to go over and just like grab on the handles and help them out, push them where they want to go. I've been lucky enough to have some new friends that were willing to actually give me that nudge of, this is a wheelchair. Yes, it's this apparatus but those are my legs. This is my way to get around. I'm glad you want to help, but I'll let you know if I need help. I've got it. I know where I'm going. I'm comfortable with what I'm doing. Let me use my wheelchair myself. When I need help, I will gladly ask. I know how to ask. So I've had people actually have that revelation with me, like, oh yeah, duh. It's one of those, I was just trying to be helpful. I'm trying to be overly helpful. And that's what it was. I thought I was being helpful. It wasn't helpful for that person. Ask them, would this be helpful, or what can I do to help? I can get your towel for you because it's over here on the ground where it might be harder to reach. Maybe that'd be more helpful than me just, not asking first and just assuming what would be helpful to the other person. Ask. There's no harm in opening your mouth and asking. It's another person. Just because they're sitting in the chair doesn't make them that different. So little things that actually are kind of big things, but at that moment you just slow down and have a conversation. It's just another person. So actually, Emily, I'm going to ask you too, what do you have any experiences or stories you've heard or anything that would be helpful that were kind of eye-opening moments for in your world?
Mm. Well, I guess the thing that I've been keep thinking about for the last little bit, it was Denise Vargas. And how she has her physical disability, and her whole thing about her living creatively, and she can do anything, pretty much anything anybody else can. It's just she might have to do it a different way than everybody else, and so that's kind of what's been coming up the last few minutes here.
Excellent. Yeah, she is the epitome of, her whole business is live creatively, because she even says, that's what I have to do every day. It makes a whole lot of sense. And we all have to do that in our own way, right? I mean, that's with our radio show. I always say we all interact with disability in some way, whether it's our own or people around us with whatever they've got going on. We're all different. We're all unique. Even personality wise, sometimes it's just a matter of that coworker that drives me nuts. Maybe there's a reason that we haven't quite connected yet, right? We all come from our own different background, and sometimes you gotta take that extra moment to just take a breath and try to put myself in their shoes, as hard as it is to jam my feet into their shoes for that moment. What does that mean to us? So I know we've got just a few minutes here left in the show. I want to go around the room again here and just see what kind of thoughts you have, whether it's with this concept of what we've been kind of talking about, if that's brought anything up, or anything that's from your professional world or your personal. What kind of thoughts are just rumbling around in your mind right now with where you're at? Keala, I'm going to start with you again, hon.
So the mindset, the mind is the greatest muscle anyone can use. And if we feed our minds negative things, we often manifest that negative thing. But when we feed our mind the positive side of things, we often manifest this beautiful thing, and it breaks down barriers, if you will. You know, when the word disability comes to mind, it's not the physical, where you need that apparatus, the wheelchair, the crutches, or whatever you need to get around, but it's the mental disability that we ourselves hinder. So like Miss Diva herself, she has that mindset of doing everything creative. She's gonna get it done. And then on the other hand, you have someone who may be like, well, I'm stuck in this chair, I can't do anything. It's that mindset that will push us to overcome the ability to knock down every barrier that the world, society, whatever decides to pop up at you. If you have, like, previous we talked about it, if you have that will, you can get it done. If you have that mindset, you will absolutely get it done, because that mindset is only manifesting what's in front of you, because you can see some may not see your finish line, but you can clearly see it. Some may be just spectators on the sideline saying that you're not going to get to that finish line, but in your mind, you're already at that finish line. So for me, the disability or ability, however which way you want to see it, starts from the mindset. And if we keep chugging along, we can always better our mindset and the abilities and the ones that are around us, because we don't have to give in to our spectators knocking us or saying negative things at us, right? So that is food for thoughts for me. You feel free to get a hold of me, 808-430-9478, or email me, kealap.bft@gmail.com. Sue, back to you.
Thank you so much, Cal. I really appreciate your thoughts and being here with us today, as always. So, Diane, I'm going to poke this over your direction. What final thoughts do you have? And I'm glad, Keala, that you included your contact info. If you want to share any of that, please do. So, Diane, over to you.
Yeah. Keala, I love that. Thank you. And it just brings me back to that silly little think about what you're thinking about, because our thoughts become our feelings, our emotions, and our emotions become our actions, and our actions end up in result. There's results, good or bad, there's results. So if we always can start with stop first, think about what you're thinking about and make sure it's positive, then we'll have a lot better chance at having a higher percentage of positive results coming back our way. So not an easy thing to do when you're operating on all cylinders, let alone if you're plagued with any kind of disease, trauma, or stress. It's just not that simple. But if you get a hold of that, and just really own that, it's also the driver behind where there's a will, there's a way. My name is Diane Rosso with the SIA Global. I can be reached at 206-419-9447 or Diane Rosso, that's with 2 S's and a W, for heaven's sake, ROSSOW, at Proton Mail, PROTON, protonmail.com. Thank you, Sue.
Awesome. Thank you, Diane. I love that. And Fred, I'm bouncing it your way next. What do you have in your mind at this point?
So every time somebody asks me one of these questions, my brain starts flashing to all the movie, the great movie lines. And on one case, Dirty Harry's would probably not be apropos. So what I flashed to was probably my favorite movie quote of all time, which comes from the movie The Matrix. And it's when Morpheus says to Neo, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And what I find in my own life, as well as many, many other people's lives, is they know what they got to do. They just don't go and do it. And so I would say, you know what you got to do, go do it, throw dirt on it, dust yourself off, go do it, and be happy.
I love that.
Profitable.
Awesome. So, and I know you mentioned you have a podcast as well. You want to fill everybody in on how they can tune into that?
We are Pillars of Franchising. It's all about buying a franchise, owning a franchise, selling a franchise, because that's one of the best ways to diversify revenue in the long run, and as well as develop a successful business. We're 2 p.m. Pacific, and you can watch at pillarsoffranchising.com or a buttload of other places. But pillarsing.com is much easier than telling you all the other places you can watch it at.
Awesome. So make sure to tune into that. I love that. Thank you so much. And I really can't thank you guys enough for being here. This has been a very fun conversation for me to be able to be part of. I know Kurt's often a lot in the driver's seat down here too, and for me to get a chance to do that today, I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm gonna dive back in with that as well because it works for today. So I'm gonna turn this over to Emily to close us up. So before I do that, I just want to again say thank you, and you guys are all, and my hat's crooked. You guys are all welcome to be here anytime. We love having you here and participate with us with Roll of Mobility, because we never know exactly where our topics are going to go, and I love that about this because it makes it a little different flavor, right, every time. But you know what? You guys are spectacular, and I love what you've all brought here today, and really, thank you. So, Emily, over to you.
I'd like to thank Diane, Fred, and Keala for coming on as well. All of you are more than welcome to join us again. We are here every Saturday at 2 p.m. Central or 3 Eastern. And I encourage everybody to Check out all of our social media pages, and subscribe, like, share, and so on. I'd like to give a special thanks to Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, Jay Stoyan of the Disability Channel, Zach Clayton of the PAC Channel, Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios for allowing us to have this show on their platform. And if anybody has any questions, comments, concerns, or so on, you can get a hold of me at 715-303-9835. On behalf of myself, Kurt, Sue, and the rest of the World of Ability Podcast Network, wish you a safe and productive week, and just stay happy. And Kurt turned into
Recording stopped.
a Scottish person.
Had to join in the hat fun. So thank you so much. We'll see you guys all next time. Bye for now.
Never saw that coming, did you?
Didn't. Or mine, I bet.
Kudos to you for having a good hat.
Oh,
They used to make all guests have hats, and you could tell the ones who'd get into it. And I like Kurt's hat.
Thank you very much. So, Kathy, did you want to say anything at the moment? We're kind of offline from YouTube and recording, but feel free to share if you want, Kathy.
Hi everybody. I just realized you just finished one meeting. And this is starting with another, is that right?
Yeah, we've been live streaming for the last couple hours. So yeah, this World Ability show started an hour ago.
Well, I would like to say happy Sheet and the Gig Day to everybody.
Yeah, everybody. Kathy was on recently, a few weeks ago, I believe.
Yes.
And she's
Yes.
over in Ireland.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's where I thought the accent was.
Yeah.
yeah, we had St. Patrick's Day yesterday.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Not just us, Gracie, the whole world.
Yeah, I saw a lot of Americans on my Facebook saying Happy Patrick's Day, and I was like, it's not Patrick's Day, it's St. Patrick's Day.
Actually, Gracie and Kathy know each other. They're both
Yes.
in Ireland. I just realized that.
Yeah, patty sounds like food to me.
Whenever I think
Now
about
you
it,
made me
I
hungry.
think about, like, I don't know, like, I was on Facebook yesterday, and someone was like, oh, Happy Patrick's Day, and I just started to do a jiffy of, Patty from The Simpsons.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Little dance.
Well, I gotta hop, folks. I gotta go call my daughter and wish her a happy birthday today. So.
oh,
Well, happy birthday, dear daughter.
birthday wishes from the whole gang here. Just be like,
Will
what?
do. Thanks.
Yeah,
Have a
thank
great
you, Fred.
weekend.
Thank you, Fred.
Nice to meet you, Fred.
Good to meet everyone.
I'm hopping off as well. Thank you for having me. It was another amazing day. And what do you know? I wasn't drawing a blank after all.
Awesome
Yeah,
job.
you did
Come back
great.
here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you folks next week.
You
Sounds
too.
good. Thanks. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Sue, Keala. My God, before she started coming out, she was not. I'm impressed.
Yeah?
Because she was like so nervous and so didn't know if she wanted to be on a podcast, and it was this big whole thing, but she's been doing great. So I'm impressed.
Could I ask what the previous meeting was?
It was a podcast.
Or
It's freezing up again.
Yeah, so yeah. Well, I didn't see who asked what we were doing. So
What was the Zoom about when it was recorded?
it was a podcast. Yeah, you and Kathy were on recently, so it was the same
same.
same
I
podcast, same.
I didn't want to speak because I didn't want to be recorded. So that's why I did not useless.
That's perfectly
Okay.
fine. You can come on just to listen. No worries.
Yeah, happy you're here.
Yeah, I was waiting until stop recording, then I was speaking.
All good. Yeah, and actually, so, I don't know if Kurt's still there or not. Did you guys want to? Well, I should ask Kathy. With you coming on, I know we recently had a time change too, so I don't know if that's messing anybody up. Our clocks did the whole.
It's 8 o'clock where we are. So it's fine.
It's 8 o'clock by you guys. Okay,
So it's a 5-hour difference.
5-hour difference now. Okay, yeah, because it was a 6-hour. Now it's 5. Do you guys do daylight savings? Does the clock change it where you are?
It does.
At the end of March.
The end of March. Okay.
Yeah, for December.
It makes it so hard to know what times. Wow. Okay.
That's why when I found this on Everbyte, I was like trying to find something that was between maybe 7 p.m. and then 9 p.m. and I was thinking Kathy was like, hey Kathy, you want to be happy? And you're like 3 in the morning? No. I mean, if I really, really want to do something, it's like 3 in the morning, maybe. But if it was at 6 in the morning, sure, I don't mind. But then it's like I live with my parents, so I don't want to wake them up at like 3 in the morning. So.
I don't. Kurt, are you still there? Just checking.
He must
Maybe
have stepped
not.
away or something.
And that's fine. We're actually in the same house, just not on the same level. He's on the main floor, and I came upstairs so we
Okay.
don't have sound issues.
Uh-huh.
So, well, and I was going to just open the door for next week if you want to come on back. I know I'm personally going to be missing the next couple weeks. I've got commitments the next couple Saturdays, so I won't be here. So I'm glad I was able to do more today.
I have a
But
question to ask, actually.
sure.
In all of your Zoom meetings, are they going to be recorded?
The ones that are on Saturday like this at this time, it actually is a podcast that we're recording.
I understand that. So what I was going to say is this suggestion is if you can mention it on your Everbyte to say, look, that it's recorded, if people want to speak, keep it muted, basically, or switch